All right, so we're going to do an oil change on a Suzuki DRZ 400 Supermoto. This is a 2020 year, is the year, the manufacturing year. I've done a few mods to this bike. I need to do a 1-year review. But right now we're just going to stick to the oil change, and I'll tell you about everything that I've done to it and all my experiences, good and bad, what I like and don't like. It came with these mud tires on it, which I actually like. They're like fat. They're super fat, which is cool. I like the way that it looks. It's different than the traditional Supermoto with the slicks, but I've taken this thing off-road several times, and it's essentially a dirt bike that's street legal. And for the price, I really like the price that I paid. You can get this type of bike for, I think they're like $8,000 brand new, give or take. So, which is awesome. So the tools that we're going to be needing today, the tools and everything we're going to need. I got an extension here, just makes things a little bit easier. We need a ratchet. So we're going to need a 10 mil, a 12 mil, and a 14 mil. I'm using some brake cleaner just to keep everything clean. Excuse me. So we have some of the part numbers here. This is the O-ring for the oil filter. This is all Suzuki parts. This is the oil that we got, 10W40, 4T. It's a synthetic. There's the part number. I don't know if that's just the store that I got it from. So here's all the part numbers, so you can do a quick snapshot if you're looking up the same parts. So this is going to be the crush washers. So this is an interesting oil change in my opinion. It's got 3 different bolts that you have to take out to get all the oil out of this bike. So step 1 is going to be assembling all the things that we're going to need. We're also going to need a oil drain and a funnel to add new oil. So we need all these things to begin. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get your bike nice and hot. You want to go for a ride and yeah, so we could go for a ride, get everything nice and warm, everything up to operating temperature, and this allows the oil to drain out out of the bike a lot easier. So yeah, so let's go for a ride. Alright, so now that we're back from our ride, we're going to be taking off our, there's a screen, a special screen that's back behind this skid plate. So use the 10mm and you take off the bolts of the skid plate so that you can access this screen. It's kind of like a, so here we go. We're going to take off this skid plate. This is 10mm. There are 4 bolts. This will give us access. Like, you don't absolutely have to do this for the oil change. Like, if you just want to do a quick drain the oil and throw in a new filter, you can absolutely do that. But I highly recommend going a little bit deeper into it because there is a secondary screen and it's better to check everything, in my opinion. But if you're just doing the handy dandy quick slapperoo, filter, like what they're probably going to do at the shop, some bike shops, they don't do the extra, they don't go the extra mile. They just want to get you in and out as a number. That's why I do all my own servicing and I mean, this is, if you have some basic hand tools, this isn't an incredibly difficult job. This is relatively easy. It doesn't take very long. You know what? Oh, good. Okay. So this is the part that I'm talking about here, where the secondary filter is. So at this point, everything is hot. You're going to want to drain your oil, and this is the bolt. This is the drain plug for the oil. We're going to go ahead and loosen it up. Switching sockets here. That's what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and loosen it up. Yeah, and then we will start the draining. So I like the big oil pan because we can get all the reservoirs draining all at the same time, which is good because we're absolutely going to want all of the oil to come out of the same spot. You want to open up everything. You want everything to drain all at once. So there's a few things that you want to check while the oil is draining. You want to check the flow of oil to look for like metal shavings and like it'll be like sparkly oil or oil that's like reflective. So you can take a flashlight and shine it right at the stream. This here is the drain plug, and as you can see, there's no metal shavings on mine, which is really good. That's amazing. So you have your oil filter, which is going to be right here. And there's a little drain for it. So you can remove this nut next, which is also a 14 mil. A lot of people skip this step, and I don't know if it really matters too much, but there is a tiny little bit of oil in this straw here. You don't want it to be clogged so that you can actually do this. It's a good way to take an oil sample too, because it only drains this tiny little housing. There's a crush washer on this too that you're going to need to replace. So, yeah. That's going to be the next thing we take off. So I'm not going to lie to you. I was trying to hide it, but I already drained the oil on this bike, and I already pulled everything apart, which is, yeah. I needed to, I'm surprised there's actually oil still in here. There was a little bit. But this is still the steps, same steps that you are going to want to go through when you do your oil change. And just a tiny bit of oil is going to come out there, and then you'll be able to take out your cover for your oil filter. There's 2 O-rings in here. You got to make sure you get them. It's this is a 10 mil. These are 10 millimeter bolts, and the cap's going to come off. It's going to push back at you when you unscrew these because there's a spring inside. So, this is the spring I was referring to. You absolutely need it. This is one of the O-rings that I was referring to. Right here. There it is. Gotta make sure you get that bad boy out. This is the oil filter. I'm not sure if this was ever changed by the previous owner. This O-ring here is the other O-ring that I was referring to. You need to make sure it comes out, because if it's in there and you stack on top of each other with the next new one, it's going to be bad. You don't want it to leak, and you want to make sure your bike gets the proper amount of oil. I'm going to take a rag, clean rag, mostly clean rag, and wipe out this compartment. And I'm going to clean off the sealing surface here, because you don't want it to leak. All right. Want to make sure there's no dust and dirt and particles and stuff inside there. So nice and clean. And you can see where the little tube goes down to drain this oil filter. Goes in there. So yeah. So that is 2 of the reservoirs. It's two drain bolts and the filter housing. There's still another place, because inside your frame is where the oil is stored. So you have another drain bolt here that needs to come out. So we're gonna pull it too. All right. Oh, sorry. Let me get some sockets switched up here. This is gonna be your 12 millimeter socket, so that you can take off this bolt. So this is the reservoir. This is the last compartment of oil that you'll need to drain. Ooh. You see, this, I sat overnight with none of these plugs in this bike, and I thought I got all the oil out of it, but it is obvious to me that See why it's so important to warm your bike up and to, like, I let this stuff drain overnight with no plugs in it. And that much oil just came out of it again, which is wild. I also do things like this where you stand the bike up. Because there's oil on the other side of the bike, and sometimes, I mean, some people have a stand and they do this perfectly level. Just then when I did that, it got even more oil out, so I don't know. I don't know how important it is to get every single piece out, but especially if you have some like oil contamination or something like that, you absolutely want to. Alright, so we're going to install this oil filter. So you want to put all new O-rings and everything. This is important that you do that. So you want to take a little bit of the older oil and you want to wipe it on all your O-rings and sealing surfaces. No, just O-rings, correction, just O-rings, not sealing surfaces. But you want to make sure that they're lubricated so that when they crush or when they're smashed into place, they don't pinch, and it allows them to move slightly as they expand, as they're flattened or pushed. And you want to make sure that they get into position and don't get pinched. So I'm going to use some of this brake cleaner here to clean this cap up. It's a brand new can, so it's got all the pressure in the world. So this is a directional cap. It's got an arrow on it. The arrow needs to go up. Sorry, I'm cleaning this thing up here. I want it to be good, look good, be nice, be cleaned out, cleaned up. Alright, make sure you reinstall the spring. It's slightly important. It's very important. So I'm going to take my lubricated O-ring and I'm going to stick it inside, like so. There she is. And then I'm going to push my new filter into that area as well. And I'm going to take my other oiled lubricated O-ring and put it around the cover like so, and I'm going to see the arrow here, arrow pointing up, and I'm going to set that inside just like so. So there's what we got.